Kate and Cobra being awesome.
Hello, humans. I am the master of snake style. I questioned myself while saying that. In the middle, I was like, am I? Hello, humans. I am the master of snake style. Ophidian.
And I am the master of... Wait a minute, what am I the master of? Now you got me!
Snake style.
Okay, do it again.
Hello, humans. I am the master of snake style. Ophidian.
And I am the master of Mix Style, Kate Mix.
And this is our now hopefully monthly Q&A April edition. So we've asked you guys on Patreon to give us a bunch of questions that we can answer for you. Now this will also be cross-posted on YouTube, but you guys on YouTube won't be able to ask us questions monthly unless you're a part of our Patreon. If you could design for any wrestler, who would it be and why?
It's a tie between Alley Cat and Ziggy Kane. They both have tie for top spot of... I have a very specific vision of what I want to make Alley Cat too. Like I know exactly, I've already talked to her about it. I know exactly what I want to make her when I finally get a chance to make her gear.
I'm a fan of Ziggy Kane. When doing the switch over from Jinx to Ziggy Kane, the rebirth, she had some questions for me, and I was glad to help her in that process to find her true identity.
Yeah, I feel like it's only appropriate that I make Ziggy gear since we've sort of helped, our family helped.
Yeah. For me, it would be Danhausen. Danhausen looks great as is. That face paint is awesome. His face paint design is great. I love the horror inspiration that's there. And I think if given the opportunity, being the lover of horror that I am, you could really redesign his look and send him full evil. Still very nice.
Yes.
But very, very evil. Now he has that old school Hollywood horror look to him that I really like. There are specific inspirations that he does have, but when I see him, I see either like Nosferatu level, like
yeah, he's like a
horror.
Crazy Ultramanus style,
yes.
Like coat.
Something with a high rise collar.
Collar.
He's had a cape at one point too, like, you know, he's kind of done a little bit of that. I like the cape look too, kind of adds to that style of look. Either going that route or something a little bit more modern, but still old, being the stuff from like 80s Italian horror, 70s and 80s. I think that whole genre, pulling inspiration from that, would look really cool on him.
Yeah. But also, Warhorse, if you wanted gear, let's talk about it.
Your least favorite thing to make?
I mean, most people already know the answer to this question because I have...
We scream it from the rooftop.
I have not been... I have not been able to be kept quiet by Big Kick Pad. They'll never silence me. I hate making kick pads. It's my least favorite part of my job by far.
I think that I'm going to make a kick pad tutorial so that we never have to make them again. And when you email us for kick pads, we can just send you a video of the tutorial and say, you make it.
100%. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Why don't you get spandex and foam from basically a yoga pad and upholstery vinyl to all work in a way together that can be worn by someone that's going to get the crap kicked out of them? Why don't you do that? Why don't you make a spandex sleeve covered in hate that will stay up for the duration of a 35-minute match?
Pushing kick pads through a machine. And I don't mean like letting them glide. I mean actually physically pushing them through the machine is one of the worst pains that your hand will ever feel.
This man has jumped off a balcony.
Yes.
And he's telling you it hurts to make wrestling gear.
The pain that you get in this part of your hand from having to grip and fold and push and pull all at the same time. Kick pads are the worst.
And you put lube on it so that you don't have to do as much effort.
Yep.
And you still have to do that much effort.
Kick pad lube.
Kick pad doesn't care about lube. Kick pad win. but Big Kickpad's never gonna take me down.
Question number 4. Who's been your favorite wrestler to make gear for?
Hands down, I always say it's a tie between Jessica Havoc and Kimberly.
Yeah, the Jessica Havoc stuff. You even made a video for your YouTube channel about making her gear and why she's a good client.
Yeah.
The kind of client that lets you design the gear, that lets you take ownership as an artist of what's being created.
Yeah, and she trusts me. I've made her enough. I mean, she was, after the first set, she was kind of sold on the type of work that I do and what I try to bring to. Because you're not, when you are a wrestler and you're looking to find a gear maker, there's going to be people that you work with and people that you don't work with. Like, not every wrestler can go to any single gear maker, so you're going to have to find people that are the right type that you're looking for, are the right, make the type of garments that you're looking to do, because the likelihood that you find a person that does everything you want exactly like you want it, like, you should be kind of going to different people for different things, or finding someone that you trust enough as an artist that you can let them take whatever time or liberties that they need to make you what you know will come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is I don't think that's just the gear. I think that kind of pertains to all art when artists work together. You know, two people can make good art, but that doesn't mean that they should work together or that they will make better art
Together,
as a
yeah.
team. Yeah. So it's definitely the same with the client relationship that we have. Like, there's certain people that we would love to work with, but we just don't mesh well with on an artistic level. That
Or we just can't get on the same page with something, or there are other factors at play. Like, there can be any reason that it doesn't work. But my favorite, I guess, yeah, and that's just situations where there have been people who are willing to give me inspiration, but allow me to do my job.
I guess it's a bit of a time for me as well. I really truly enjoy making the Razorhawk, Dangerhawk, Silverhawk, Nighthawk books, the Cyberhawks 2000. I like the look that they've got, the inspiration from the 80s cartoons, that Sentai supergroup look that they've got going is absolutely my jam. And there's an evolution that we've been able to show throughout the years, from when they first showed up in the year 1999 to now, the year 2004.
Yes.
We've seen that evolution in their masks, from their base look to the growing of, you know, the head on there, and the way that the colors look now. I like it a lot. It's a great example of showing the evolution of a character as well. If you look at their first mask to where they're at now, and that natural growth in their faces, you know, adding the extra details that are there now. I really enjoyed showing that, and being able to really craft those. I didn't have as much say in the beginning making those as you did the initial design with my input, of course.
Yeah, I kind of wish there were some aspects of that design that, when I was designing it on paper, I was like, this is simple, and then I put it on fabric, and I was like, this is harder than it is necessary for this specific.
But as the characters evolved, or we've been able to remake those sets of gear now 4 or 5 times over, I've been able to take over in the design and add those extra little pieces and kind of bring it to what it is today. Yeah. What is the most complicated piece of gear we've ever made? And I think this is the direct question here. Like, there's only one obvious answer for the most complicated piece of gear we've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is Mortimer, the Whisper's sidekick in Chikara. Yep. Mortimer is the Whisper sidekick in Chikara. He's a headless creature that has a projection screen inside of him. So, you know, when you look at Mortimer, he's holding an umbrella over top of his non-existent head. There's a giant hole at the top of it so that the performer in the suit can look through it. And when that jacket is opened up, because he can open up his big jacket, it turns into a screen in which the Whisper can project promos onto. So there was a lot that had to go into this. We needed to be able to make a costume that allowed the person wearing it to be comfortable in it for extended periods of time when they're standing ringside.
Mortimer does not wrestle. For those of you who are watching this as makers who are like, I'm sorry, excuse me, Mortimer cannot wrestle. He could take a bump. Maybe not anymore.
but does exist in front of the live audience. It needs to be able to be something that can exist in front of a crowd in the character. He needs to look like he lives in the world, and he does. And he has a projection screen built into him, and he's headless. And it was a lot, because we had never made anything like that at this point in our careers when we made this. I don't think we've actually made anything like it since.
No, we haven't. And I wish that I had a chance to make it again, because I learned a lot from that process. It was definitely one of those processes where I was just like crying in frustration. This happens, I think, I don't know if I don't, this happens to me a lot.
We've only talked about it in podcasts, the crying aspect of gear making. Because of there not being that much information about like what we make, there's not a ton of how to make whatever tutorial videos, and I did find some resources on how to make a headless performance suit, but it was mostly just speculation based on props that were made for touring companies, that like people who are super fans of touring companies with like similar, like that illusion, speculation on how they did it. It was frustrating. It was a lot. There was a lot of duct tape and praying to gods I don't believe in. and just general like ramming my head against this problem, like how am I supposed to turn a headless man into a projection screen? How do I do that? But we did it, and he looks great. What is the biggest hurdle you've ever faced in the process of creating a new costume or mask?
It's the lack of information. When I first started making wrestling gear, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I mean, I knew how to sew, but I never made athletic wear or worked with stretch materials at all. And that first kick pad making process was nightmarish. I think partially the reason kick pads are so horrible for me to this day is because I have just like PTSD from the struggle of having no conceptual idea and no one to ask how to make something, and having no choice but to make it.
When we say that there's zero reference on the internet on how to make these things, I mean, there's genuinely none when it pertains to the style that we wear within the professional wrestling industry. There are ones that you can kind of find about like the martial arts style, or ones that let's say you would wear for practice for like MMA. We eventually found one, but it was too late in the process. We didn't have it when
we were starting to make kick pad stuff, there was less than nothing. That was before even I was really watching, like, seeing sewing tutorial stuff on YouTube on a regular basis. Like, obviously they existed, but it was primarily for quilting and like connected to company videos and stuff. I didn't see a ton of, outside of Threadbanger, which was like the OG DIY sewing channel, there was nothing that complex available, even for other athletic wear, like hardcore athletic wear.
Yeah. I think that initial set of kick pad, I think that initial kick pad that we made was just a couple of different yoga mats that we cut up into pieces and then glued together for her here, for Hania the Howling Huntress. Because we didn't even have the right materials at the time yet to use as foam for the. And they were like
vinyl. They were entirely vinyl with lace-up back. Like it was like essentially she was basically wearing like leather corsets on her legs.
What's a good source for materials and fabrics to work with? Well, that's a lot, because there is no one singular source for all of the stuff that we have in this room.
Yeah, I think the best source is the one that you can order from reliably. And I mean, right now, nothing is being ordered from reliably. So any recommendation I can give you would be affected by our current pandemic situation, given you're watching this in the year 2020. As far as...
to give you an example of what we mean by that, as far as like there's no one reliable source. We have to get our spray glue that we use from the actual vendor themselves. The place that we would get our fabrics, like the actual spandex that we use for tights, is different from the place that we use to get the vinyls for the masks. That's different from the place we get silicone spray from, and the rulers that we use, or the chalk, or the Fabric Begone markers, you know?
Just on your mask alone, right now, the black vinyl was obtained from a different place than any of these vinyls. These two were from eBay, I think.
It's definitely not where the underneath is from.
Yeah, that one's from a different vinyl vendor. That vinyl and the black vinyl are from two separate vinyl vendors. And all the holographic and chrome stuff is from 2 to 3 different vinyl vendors. And the zipper and the hook are from the same place.
The vinyl stuff doesn't even include all the little things that you have to have, like the glue, the zippers, anything that's adhesive, the twill tape in here, which is its own website. We order it directly from a twill tape website. It is literally all over the place. I guess we could, and for a future video or for our Patreon, kind of make a collective list of all the places that we do order from. Well, that's it for this month's Q&A. Thank you for taking the time to watch this and hang out with us. If you would like to ask us a question about sewing or things related to it, you can join over on our Patreon for as little as $2 a month to not only just support us, but to also ask whatever you may need in your sewing endeavors.
Indeed.
Sewing endeavors, your sewing journeys.
Escapades. Shenanigans.
Yeah. Hopefully you are committing lots of sewing shenanigans and tomfoolery. Follow me on Twitter.
Follow me on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. He's at Ophidian Cobra.
On all social media.
I am Kate Nix on all social media, and
this has been Closet Champions Q&A.
It has. We're Closet Champions.
If you're on Patreon, thank you for supporting. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for supporting, watching, and join our Patreon and ask your own questions. Thank you and goodbye, humans. Patrons.
Yeah, that's what they call them. Patrons. Some people call them Patreons. Like they call the Patreon subscribers Patreons.
I don't like that.
I don't either. It feels like eating chicken and egg in the same meal.
I do that often. As weird as that is.
Gotta build that meat castle.
Because I'm an animal.
We're all animals, technically.
No, you are an elegant, beautiful, fey creature, and I'm an animal.